Hello, beautiful souls. So our topic of choice for today is the stages and phases of spiritual awakening. Okay, so first of all, we need to shift the way we consider life as being the evolution of just birth, life and death, because as always, there are cycles within cycles and they are each relevant to different aspects of our existence. Life as a whole is a process, and it is a process of transitions through a series of 3 births essentially. And within each stage, we have a different focus and level of perception about ourselves and life. Now, the first stage begins with your physical birth and so relates to your physical needs for life, survival, safety, and security. It is our instinctual way of living in which we are awakened to our drive to survive. And this creates our view about our inner world, how supported we are, loved, connected, cared for, etc. And we learn how easily we get what we need and what is available to us. The second stage begins with your mental birth, and this is when we begin to see ourselves as separate from those around us, the splitting of from the divine oneness into individualism, which initiates the emergence of the ego, which is then developed through like a more serious approach to life and facilitated by our 5 senses. That's why the nerves of our physical senses plug directly into the brain. We read the world, filter it, and react based on mental signals that create patterns of behavior. This is the beginning of an intellectual way of living, and this birth relates to our connection to relationship, to others, essentially creating our view of our outer world, how we perceive life and our place within it. And then all the feedback we get through our senses provides us with a collection of varied experiences and options that we then use to learn to power our choice to get what we prefer. Now, these first 2 births are instinctual and inherent within ourselves, within our very DNA. The third birth, however, is often initiated at a point, but not everyone will complete the process. And this is because you actually have to choose this third birth and move through it willingly in order to come out the other side. You have to consciously choose to evolve beyond your suffering, beyond your ego, and to create the change you want to make with an open mind, an open heart, an open connection to your higher self. And this is the third birth stage. It is what is commonly known to most of us as the spiritual awakening. And it's the realization of a more spiritual consciousness, something beyond the mind and intellect. And this relates to our spiritual needs, our connection to something bigger than self, and our recognition of purpose. So each of these stages goes through the same pattern, which you can easily associate to the stages of physical birth, beginning with like contractions or birthing pains, followed by the movement down the birth canal, then the crowning, and finally the birth. This cycle of spiritual awakening is essentially like a soul reset, because we're finally getting to remember our divinity that we first arrived here with through our first birth, when we knew innately our connection, our oneness, our worthiness, our purpose. And so if we choose to, we can work on realigning every layer of our being and reconnect with the natural rhythm of all life that is inbuilt within us, which is how we should be living, with ease, with joy, and in flow. So let's break it down and look at each phase of this spiritual awakening process, and then see if you can maybe recognize where you are, and then you could let us know in the comments, because we would love to hear from you. Now, first I need to say that although there is a general procession to these things and an order, the unfolding isn't exactly the same for everyone. So what I'm giving you here is quite broad and based on what I know to be the primary order of events, but really there is no rules, because as I mentioned, after initiation, the rest of the process has to be chosen. And so the how much, the how hard, the how long it all takes depends solely on you. And you may even find yourself experiencing an overlap of 2 or more of these phases, and things can get a little crazy, because although the end result of a spiritual awakening is a very beautiful one, the process, like any birth, can be exhausting and painful and messy.